Alrighty, everybody, we are back once again. Joining us here today, it's Spectrum, team 3847. They're from Houston, Texas. Gentlemen, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Alan Gregory. I'm the head coach for Spectrum.
I'm Will. I'm a senior, and I'm on the mechanical design and Germans.
Awesome. All right, well, glad you guys made it here. Just FYI for everybody watching, if you've got questions for these guys or any of the other teams we've got on check-in, you can send them to us by typing !Q followed by your question in the Twitch chat, and our bot will pull it in, and if we like it, we'll ask these guys live on air. So first, let's talk about some unfortunate circumstances you guys have run into. We know that you guys were having some really great progress early in the season. You got your CAD model done. Last we heard, you guys sent out some parts to be made at your sponsor. What's up now?
Yeah, so basically, it feels like a lot of bad luck, but in reality, it's probably not that bad. It's just everything's coming, little things all at once.
Oh, boy.
But so things that have happened over the last, 7 days, just now, like literally as we're filming this, why we're kind of being frantic, is the printer, or one of our 3D printers, the entire hot end fell off and we're just oozing polycarbonate for a couple minutes and just managed to mangle itself.
That's not good.
So that was bad. The first run with the sponsor, we sent them 31 different part numbers. They only made 20 of them. They just stopped making parts at some point, didn't know. They didn't know. They were all of your parts are ready. And they just somebody somewhere, there's some miscommunication. So we only had drivetrain and shooter on Wednesday.
Is it possible that the printer ran out of paper and they just didn't have everything to make?
Yeah, not quite. It was just one of their guys who does the drawings just didn't realize that it was all on the same sheet. So I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but somehow they messed it up. But they were really great about it. We love our sponsors. They're really awesome. They managed to fix the large majority of it, and we had parts Friday morning. So they did it in about a day once they found out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was great. But then they did mess up one other part for us, our intake panels. We had already sent them the same part number earlier in the season, and we had told them they were revisions, but they just made that same part number again without the revisions.
Oh.
Yeah, so our intake is kind of some stuff that we did on the router, and we were able to make something work, but it's kind of jerry-rigged right now.
Okay. See, I gotta sympathize with you. My job, what I do for a living, is I'm document control. So literally, it's my job to make sure that we don't let people make the wrong drawings. So I feel your pain. I completely understand what that issue is like.
Some of it's our fault because in previous years we had revision numbered our actual part numbers every time, but because we started using GrabCAD and it does it for us internally, we don't need to do that because we get all the version numbers. So we didn't think about doing it when we sent it off to manufacture.
I see. So you have a number and a rev, not a number and rev combined.
Right. Yep.
Okay. See, that's kind of I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, at least you got something going. That's good. So the good news is that all your bad luck is gone. And you can't possibly have any more. You're all done for the season. So it's basically Einstein from here to there. So
hopefully. So we have our part. Most of the parts of the competition robot are out at powder coat right now. We dropped them off today. A little bit later than we wanted to. There were some other weird things that happened. Namely, our powder coat sponsor moved and didn't tell us. So I literally drove to the wrong building to drop off parts.
Wow.
So that was also a fun part of this week. But we do actually have a practice robot mostly ready to go. We've done a little bit on it, not really been driving around and shooting yet. We're still missing the fuel tank and stuff, but that should happen over the next couple days.
Cool. Yeah, let's take a look at your practice robot live here.
Yeah.
Here
we go.
Ta-da!
So that's the practice robot. And still, you can see there's still some wood bits. Those are our parade bumpers that Will has in his hands.
Yeah, the full internal sheet metal wrap. So
wow!
All the sides and all the corners. We have red and blue ones in the other room, but they don't have the sheet metal on them yet.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look at the actual robot here. Yeah. So show us how your Okay, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. We're good. All right. So why don't you guys tell us those side plates you mentioned earlier? Can you guys show us where or how they're a little bit different than what you're looking for?
You can kind of see here. So basically, the plate that they gave us had the hole patterns messed up on the intake, so we had to route out our own. We did it out of A-finish aluminum. We were able to route it, but to get the right bend down at the bottom, we had to mount it to the plates they gave us. So basically bandsawed off and then.
Okay.
So
Very
it's not
cool.
perfect. There's some stuff that ends up being pushed out a little bit too far on the robot. Some other things get wiggled around. So once the real ones come in, it should be right.
Okay, I was gonna say it looks like almost one of your bag motors is like outside the frame perimeter on your right, the left there.
Yeah, so this will come in about 1/4 of an inch on the real one, but it does stick really close to the frame perimeter.
Yes, close only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades, so it's okay, no big deal. All right, cool. So you guys mentioned you haven't been shooting with this guy yet? Have you guys been collecting with it at all?
Yeah, so it'll collect balls, and it does the gear intake works as well.
And we have done some testing transferring from the belt bed into the shooter tower. So we have a couple videos somewhere of balls going from the intake, the belt intake, without our mechanism collector, and being fed up to the top of the tower.
Oh, okay, cool. So what are those pieces of wood there? I know that those are not final, but what are they for right now?
So the climber sub-team is working on the way to basically guide in the rope. So if our driver's off, the rope is able to basically, as we're driving in, it wants to fall in and eventually get caught here on dual lock that's wrapped around this post.
Oh, dual lock. Is that like exactly the same stuff they use to hold down the Lego League fields, or?
Yes, actually. But
wow.
So you attach that to Velcro, and it grabs the Velcro even better than Velcro does. To the point where we were actually worried about whether we were going to get the rope off of the climber afterwards.
Just got to slice it and get some more rope. Oh, there you go. Very cool. How do you guys hold the dual lock onto the shaft?
I believe it's super glued onto some like nylon cord.
Yeah, so neither of us are on the sub team, so we're kind of going off memory here from what they told us. Basically, they wrapped gaffer's tape backwards around the pole, then they wrapped nylon webbing around that, and secured that all together, then super glued on the dual lock.
There you go. That should hold, I hope.
Well, part of the reason for that setup is that if you can rivet through the nylon, and then we can drill out the rivets and slide the whole thing off the pole. So if we don't have to like have it glued to the pole or anything to where we couldn't pull it out of the bushing.
Oh, okay, cool. So we've actually gotten a couple of questions from the chat talking about a couple things. Let's ask. We're going to ask a question of you guys now, sort of in the middle, and we'll go back to the rest of our topics in a second. So we got a question here talking about fuel. This question comes from I can't read that name. Oh well, they ask, how many fuel do you guys plan on holding? We noticed that the sides aren't on your robot there, but have you managed to sort of put something up there and dump some balls into your robot and see how many you can hold?
Yeah, so we've been planning sort of throughout the season for around 50 or so. And throughout the process, as we get for each drivetrain revision, we sort of created a mock hopper with hardboard or what have you. And when we did it on this most recent revision a couple nights ago, we were right about 50, so give or take 5 balls.
Nice. So math works.
Yeah. So hopefully it stays right. And then we're also the front panel, which we'll have on for next week clearly because we'll have the reveal. That we're actually probably going to get on the router tonight. It's on sprung hinges, so as our mechanism arm comes down, it springs out forward to give it a little bit more hopper volume.
Oh, cool. So your hopper expands kind of like what 319's doing a little bit as the arm.
Yeah, not quite as drastic as them. Okay. Just a little bit more room, and it kind of puts the edge of the hopper closer to the volume. No, not just the volume, but also so when we're feeding down from the human player stations and things like that, the balls are able to come into it a little bit easier.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about before we get. Oh, here we go. We got another question coming up here. This question is your robot going to shoot large loads at a time or small loads at a time?
So our plan is we have the 3-wide shooter, so our plan is to try to get rid of our entire hopper in one sitting. But we also don't want to be there for too long. So if we find out that, we're cut down to 2 streams because of, some hardware or software malfunction, or we're not quite aligned, we don't want to be spending more than, I think, like 3, 4, 5 seconds, or probably like 4 or 5 seconds at the boiler, because we want to keep our cycle times up. So if we find that we're sitting at the hopper too long and just for whatever reason our fire rate's off, we're probably going to cut that off early and bolt. But the current plan is to try to dump the entire hopper in about 4 or 5 seconds with the 3 streams.
Nice. That'll be great to see. All right, cool. So let's move on to our next topic here. We'll have some more questions later on. But let's talk about week 0. So a lot of teams, they have events they can go to. You guys aren't going to an event. You're actually going to visit another team. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about all that?
Yeah, so we're actually doing a little bit of both. So in the past, we've actually held the Houston practice at our facility, but we weren't getting a ton of teams out. We did get like 5 or 6 maybe, and it wasn't really productive for anybody. because we couldn't really practice against anybody. Our field wasn't very good. We didn't have a full field or anything. We don't have a permanent place to put it. But we kept seeing that Dallas had a really good event. Our friends Dallas Jesuit, the All Sparks, 2848, they have an event. So we were like, oh, we were planning to go up there, but it's hard to travel that far. It's, Texas is huge. It's 4 hours plus from Houston to Dallas.
It's 4 hours from Houston to Dallas?
Yes.
Like two of the major cities in Southeast Texas.
So
they're 4 hours.
Doing in the bus and stuff, it's going to be longer with stops and everything. So we don't want to make that a day trip. So we were trying to figure out what we could do that Friday because we happen to have it off school. So 148 was gracious enough to let us go play with them. So we'll be up at 148's home at their brand new facility on Friday afternoon, tweaking our robot, getting some driver practice in, some autonomous practice on their field. And then Saturday we'll spend with Dallas Jesuit and I believe 22 other teams from around North Texas.
Wow, that's awesome. That's wicked. That's wicked cool. So we'll have, for the first time ever, 2 check-in teams will be in the same spot. So make sure you take lots of pictures, guys. That'll be great. Cool. Well, we'll talk to 148 more about that too. And it's cool to see that you guys are going to an off-season event. What are you guys' goals going into your week 0 event? What do you want to see at the end of the day? I'm guessing you're not looking to win matches. You're looking to learn stuff, right?
So our big goal, especially at 148 where they have the full field, is we want to see some of our autonomous start getting routed. Yep. So basically all we want, the big thing that we want is we want 2 or 3 gear autos. And along with that confirmation that our active gear intake is going to be able to deposit the gear in a consistent way. So we want to be able to get probably one just with a straight on from the driver station to the gear peg facing us. And probably one to one of the side ones that hopefully we can just mirror everything and get it to work for the other one. But then after that, our next goal is probably driver practice and hopefully shooter practice. That's probably the last thing on our list, just because we think currently we think it's the lowest priority, just because we don't think we need it to win a week 1 event. Of course, it would be nice, but things have to happen before that, like gear intake and driver practice.
All right, sounds like a plan. So. It's almost a week away, or less than a week away, something like that. Bag Day is coming up. What do you guys do on Bag Day? What's your normal plan of action?
We were probably one of the more casual teams of anybody. It's basically another build day, and like some of the team doesn't even realize that the competition robot ends up in the bag that night. The only amount of ceremony we have is that's the one day off that we take is the Wednesday following. We don't meet that Wednesday. And then we start meeting again nonstop until basically champs. So,
oh my goodness,
that's pretty much.
You guys, your build season is legitimately a full 12 weeks long.
Yeah, we don't stop.
We are taking this Saturday off for Vex States.
Yeah, so we'll do like in competition season, we'll do volunteer stuff. Like we'll be at Vex States on the Saturday, and then also
Lone
Houston
Star North,
Lone Star North, because we're not competing there, but it's only an hour away, so we'll be up there volunteering. So there's definitely times where we're doing other stuff, but the team is doing something every day from now until champs, other than that Wednesday. Right?
So you're going to take time off of doing robot stuff to do other robot stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much how our whole year goes.
Yep, sounds like my life too. All right, so we got one last question from the chat coming in here. This question asks from CMC Bride, or Corey McBride 166. All right, why did you release your CAD model in week 4? That is kind of a bold move. We saw it on Chief Delphi. There was a lot of discussion about it.
So what's funny is people said we released it in week 4, but actually every Tuesday we've been publicly releasing it. Just people haven't gone and got it. Like we put it on the blog. We told it because I think I've said it here too. But it's been available all year. Every prototype sketch, everything is available.
So why are you guys so open when a lot of teams are trying to keep it secret?
There's a couple of different reasons, but one of them is just really, as far back as 2013, even earlier, when we were doing the blog and, we had the shooter prototype that went viral, we realized, hey, a lot of teams can benefit from just being able to look at what other people are doing, right? Like here in Houston, there's a lot of discussion. We talk to, people from other teams. We have, info on what other teams are doing, what their prototypes are looking like, what they think works and doesn't work. But there are a lot of teams out there that don't have open communication with other teams in their area. So it's nice that we think it's nice that we can put out the work that we do and say, hey, this is an example of a team that we think is reasonably successful. We've got a reasonable idea of what we're doing. This is our build process. This is where we think we should be going with this game. Here's all our stuff. Look at it. If you want to copy it, go for it. We've put it out there for people to look at so that they can learn from it. And it also gets us some feedback. So like
Right.
there's a lot of feedback on the chief thread, some PMs going around. But yeah.
Yeah, we get not only feedback, but we also make a lot of friends. There's a ton of people who know who we are or have talked to us or communicate with us, and we stay friends with because at some point something in our build blog or something in our CAD they've used or wanted to or thought was cool. So even this year we're going to dinner with Skunkworks when they come down to South Champs.
Cool.
And that entire relationship is built on basically them using some part of something from build blog in 2013. We started PMing and knowing each other just from that. Like I have no other way to know somebody up in Washington.
Well, that's awesome. Well, guys, thank you again for being on Check-In, not only for sharing your CAD and everything, but coming on and doing the show every week. We hope you guys, the bad luck is over. We know it's over. No need to hope. It's done. It's only blue skies from here. So we'll see you next week when your whole robot's working and perfect, right?
Hopefully.
All right, cool. Well, next up, we've got team number 148, the Robo Wranglers. They're from Greenville, Texas, 4 hours away from these guys, apparently. So we're going to bring them on after a very quick break. But Spectrum, thank you once again for joining us, and we'll be right back. Have a good night for you guys.
Thank you.